On this episode of China Uncensored, being a lawyer in China just got easier. If you're loyal, Apple created a delightful feature to stop a dangerous emoji. And finally, just because a Chinese telecommunications company works with the Chinese military doesn't mean it shouldn't build Australia's 4G network. This is China Uncensored. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Being a lawyer in China isn't easy. Just ask Gao Zhisheng. I'm kidding. You can't ask him. He's in police custody, somewhere in China. But it's not all bad news for lawyers inside China. The All China Lawyers Association, the only official organization for lawyers approved by the Chinese Communist Party, has revised its charter to help lawyers throughout China do better. According to party mouthpiece, the People's Daily, China's Minister of Justice, who's also a high-ranking party official, has laid out some new requirements. Lawyers must make the work of developing the party their top political task, and lawyers must follow the party no matter what happens. Okay, technically those aren't new requirements, but isn't it also the Communist Party's way of saying, hey, we don't want what happened to Gao Zhisheng to happen to any other lawyers? Such compassion. Speaking of compassion, according to the Epoch Times, the Chinese embassy in the U.S. issued a notice on its website stating that the U.S. is not safe and that there is a high occurrence of gun violence, robbery, and theft. The Chinese embassy's warning about the so-called dangers of traveling to America came just a few days before U.S.-China trade tariffs went into effect. I'm sure that's totally a coincidence, though. Unfortunately, the warning didn't come soon enough for one Zhang Xiaolong. Just as he was about to board a flight returning him to the safety of the motherland, he was arrested by U.S. authorities. Zhang worked for Apple in 2015, specifically in the autonomous car division, and he may have been spying. Zhang was accused of downloading files that included engineering schematics and technical reports before leaving to work for Xiaopeng Motors. I mean, what evidence do they have? Records and closed-circuit TV footage also show Zhang entering the autonomous car software and hardware labs on April 28th. He was seen leaving less than an hour later, carrying a computer keyboard, some cables, and a large box. Okay, so a lot of evidence. In hindsight, considering Apple convinced the entire world to put a surveillance device in their pockets, Zhang maybe should have assumed Apple would also have security cameras in a top-secret research lab. But despite the spying, Apple is still an eager player in the China market. Apparently, even to the extent that they'd rather have iPhones crash than stand up to Chinese censorship. Apple has built in a censorship feature on every iPhone in the world, and it's all for the benefit of the Chinese Communist Party. It was discovered that Apple added some code to iOS with the goal that phones in China wouldn't display a Taiwanese flag. Except that introduced a bug. If someone sent a Taiwanese flag emoji to your iPhone while you were in China, it would crash. And yes, this has been a feature of iOS since early 2017. If you switch your iPhone location to China, the Taiwanese flag emoji option disappears. But for reasons that are unclear right now, some phones would crash if they received the Taiwanese flag emoji from a user outside China. Apple says they have now fixed the glitch. Don't worry, they haven't changed the censorship part. That's still in there. Last week, we covered the shady investments China made in Malaysia's development company 1MDB. Well, there's a juicy update. The Malaysian businessman behind it has fled to China. Before fleeing to the mainland, he had been in Macau, China's hub for gambling and money laundering. It gives you an idea of what kind of businessman he is. The kind of businessman who parties with Leonardo DiCaprio. Currently, Interpol has a warrant out for his arrest. The Malaysian guy, not Leo. But we'll see if China's authorities are eager to actually help Interpol. Speaking of totally above-board business dealings, it's a breakthrough for Chinese telecommunications giant Huawei. they won a $100 million deal to build 4G networks in Western Australia. Wait, there were security concerns? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Just because Huawei has close ties to the Chinese military and has been banned by some US government agencies, that doesn't mean Huawei is a security threat. I mean, they even said they wouldn't give Australian user data to China. Obviously, cooler heads prevailed and gave Huawei the contract. And in an unrelated story, it turns out that in 2015, Huawei took several Western Australian government officials on a paid tour of China. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And before you go, it's that time when we answer questions from fans who support China Uncensored on the crowdfunding website Patreon. Carlos A. Carreno asks, should I be afraid of all Chinese electronic software? You know, because the cyber espionage and stuff. Well, since iPhones are glitching because Apple programmed in Chinese censorship in every iPhone, it might not just be Chinese electronic software. But I would say, definitely don't use the app WeChat. In a 2016 report, Amnesty International noted that WeChat did not provide end-to-end encryption, which means its messaging system can be accessed via a back door. Like, you know, by the Chinese government. Doesn't stop there. Chinese phones like Huawei or ZTE are banned on security grounds by organizations like the Pentagon. So maybe you shouldn't have one of those either. Thanks for sending your question. And remember, China Uncensored is supported mainly from viewers like you. If you want us to keep making great episodes and have a chance to get your question answered on air, become a supporter on Patreon. The link is below. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. See you next time. Did you know China Uncensored doesn't show up on YouTube autocomplete? Try it. Pretty strange, huh? That's why you should turn on your notification bell and check back regularly for more episodes of China Uncensored. Otherwise, you'll miss out. YouTube will see to it.